Welcome to a Chelsea segment of the Lion and the Liverbird podcast. We had to do another segment simply because Chelsea are flying in the Club World Cup. I know Rohit has said that they've got an easy-ish draw, but you can only beat what is in front of you. Chelsea are now in the finals. They beat Fluminense, and they had a very interesting hero who had links to Fluminense. We'll get into that a little later. The other thing, obviously, is what's going to happen to Nicolas Jackson and his future. Noni Madueke is off to Arsenal of all clubs. And the last thing that obviously I would need to bring up before we dive into this Fluminense performance was uh, Chelsea are going to face a really tough team in PSG, possibly the most informed team in Europe right now. So, Rohit, before we get into the final, let's talk about the semi-finals, how you guys beat Fluminense, and a new boy, a new hero, and it's not Liam Delap. So, take it away.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful storyline, actually. I think, of course, you're talking about João Pedro, our new Brazilian forward that we signed from Brighton. After he was signed, there were a lot of doubters. Another purchase from Brighton, is he good enough? His overall goals and assists are okay. Why are you paying so much? But, he is a really, really good footballer, and he showed that, right? Two amazing goals against his boyhood club. One from outside the box. We've never seen a Chelsea forward do it for like decades, right? Chelsea forward are notoriously bad at scoring goals, the thing that they should be good at. So it's very refreshing to see somebody who is good at that. And even the second goal was wonderful. I think that was struck at like 75 miles an hour or something. A brilliant finish from João Pedro. And of course, because it is his boyhood club, a lot of reporters were asking him about it. And it's a very beautiful thing he said, right? He said, I grew up with nothing. He was obviously from a very poor background in Brazil. And Fluminense gave him the platform to kind of showcase himself to the world. And he's forever grateful for that. And it's kind of interesting. After scoring the goals, he didn't celebrate, which is very obvious to me, right? But I saw like a lot of commentators, and including Alan Shearer, I was just watching some podcast say, "Hey, why aren't you celebrating? You should just celebrate." But I don't know what your thoughts on this are. I feel like these are people who don't understand, like these kids who come up from nothing, how grateful they feel to these clubs who've given them the initial platform, right? If you've come from poverty in Brazil and Fluminense was your boyhood club, you'll never be able to celebrate. And I don't think it's the same for Shearer. He probably, had it, didn't have it as tough as Joao Pedro. What do you think about that? Celebrating against your older club?
So I'm not sure about it. It depends, as you said, on a situation basis. Joao Pedro coming through a tough time will obviously not want to celebrate against his boyhood club. Alan Shearer probably, I don't know. So Alan Shearer's career was at Newcastle. Obviously, started he had the great time at Blackburn, and then he was at Newcastle for the rest of his career. But had he shifted from Newcastle and gone to, I don't know, Manchester United, would he have celebrated scoring against Newcastle? Probably not. So it's very
Yeah,
easy for
right.
him to say he doesn't understand Joao Pedro, he doesn't understand the history, and maybe he's thinking that, oh, he's just shifted from Brighton to Chelsea. It's a bigger club. Why does he care about a Fluminense? But it depends. So I think there is this link with South Americans. I think South Americans understand. They come through that hardship, the street football. There is a ruggedness in them, which isn't there all the time in the Europeans. So I think that's where also the Joao Pedro thing came. I think a lot of South Americans don't celebrate when they score against even the former clubs in Europe. So I think it's just Shearer being Shearer. He needs some TRP
Exactly.
somewhere or something.
Exactly. So back to the match, right? Of course, João Pedro, having scored the two goals, was substituted by Nico Jackson. And that's an interesting topic to discuss, right? Initially, a lot of people were thinking maybe Nico Jackson is going to start because Liam Delap was suspended for this game. Because João Pedro just came back from his vacation time in Brazil, although he looked good against Fluminense, against Palmeiras in the previous game. Nobody expected him to start. But that goes to show how much trust Maresca has in Joao Pedro right off the back, but it also goes to show how far down the pecking order Nicolas Jackson is now. So if Delap and Joao Pedro are above him, Nicolas Jackson probably will look for a way out of Chelsea. And a good representation of that, of where his mind is at, was one of the chances that he got. And again, that's a chance that he created himself. He pressed the Fluminense defender really well, won the ball off of him, and got into the penalty box. But right at the last moment, when he should have squared it to Cole Palmer for him to score an easy goal, he tried to shoot, right? A pretty tough angle to shoot from, and of course, he missed. What happened after that was very surprising. Cold, calm, Cole Palmer lost it. He absolutely lost it. He got mad. He kicked the post and he shouted at Nicolas Jackson. Not the best kind of reaction to that from Cole Palmer, but he's a young kid, and at the end of the game, where you're trying to win, makes sense, right?
But it's
Uh,
understandable, right? Because Cole Palmer was like he didn't have the best of seasons last time. He was out of form. He's trying to get back into the groove, I guess. And this is a tap in for him. I saw the chance that Jackson created, and then I don't know why he went to shoot. And the other thing, Rohit, we must understand is that the preseason is going to start for Chelsea pretty soon. Also, like Liverpool's preseason starts on July 13th. I don't know when your preseason starts because this is, I think, preseason itself. So I think all the players want to be in the best shape possible.
Yeah, we'll talk about the preseason. That's an interesting thing you brought up. But I wanted to round out the discussion by just, that particular incident exemplifies
Mhm.
Nicolas Jackson not really being the finished product yet, and João Pedro seems like he is. So I think he might be on the way out. There are a few rumors. And, that comes close on the heels of Madueke signing for Arsenal out of the blue. Right. And the interesting thing about Madueke is I was just checking, we bought him for 29 million pounds a couple of years ago. We're selling him for 52, right? So that this is a rare example of the model, the Chelsea new model working, right? Uh, Specifically because now we have Estevao William. Of course, I still think Madueke would have been really good and above the pecking order from Estevao this year, but next year onwards, I think Estevao clearly has a higher ceiling. So it's a bit of a risk for Chelsea, but you can see why, they sold him, making a quick profit, help you balance the books. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing is there's upheaval in North London. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but a lot of murals of Mikel Arteta have been vandalized because apparently that Arsenal fans don't want uh, people to sign Madueke. Like there's been a lot of cuss words written on Arsenal's on Arteta's face. So I understand where they're coming from because the numbers that Madueke has don't show he's a world class talent finished numbers, that in the terms of goals and assists. But if you look at the chances created, XG, etc., obviously he's one of the best out there. So I can understand where Arsenal fans are coming from. But who knows? Maybe he could be the missing link to their championship dreams.
So I really rate Madueke, right? I've been watching him play, and I've actually seen him play at in the stadium as well. The thing about Madueke is he's young, but he's got some very kind of unique skills, right? He's good on the ball, but he's also very strong and he's also very resilient. So he'll keep making runs, he'll keep trying to take on defenders, and of course, he's got a good shot on him. If you see his shot volume, not everything goes in, but he gets his shots off and he can shoot from both his feet. So I'm actually, if you forget the financial aspect, if Chelsea weren't in a financial mess, I would have been really sad losing Madueke. And I think Arsenal will benefit from him because he's again somebody. He's also got a really good cross on him, Adim. A lot of like similarities to like the skill sets that Mo Salah has. Obviously not at that level yet, but think about it. Somebody who's got a good cross, somebody who can penetrate the box again and again, who's resilient physically. And I think he will, blow up pretty soon, a couple of years down the line. So Arsenal are getting a good player, and he's a great backup to, Saka, because last year we saw what happened when Saka was injured. Like Arsenal dipped, right? And if you want to win, you have to have a good backup. And Madueke can also play on the left wing as well. So I think it's a good sign. I think it's a good deal for everybody involved. But this is again one of those Kevin De Bruyne, yeah, and Mo Salah deals that might come back to bite Chelsea. We'll see about that. But anyway, so the because the model is now very abundantly clear to everybody by these young players, relatively cheaper transfer money, improve them a couple of years, move them on for a profit. I think Nicholas Jackson might be next, right? I don't know who will replace Madueke with, if we'll replace him, because we're getting Estevao in already. But if Nicholas Jackson goes, I can, see Chelsea going into the transfer market again, especially if we also end up selling in Kunku, which there's a rumor of that Bayern wants him. That's kind of interesting. Okay, let's get back into the Club World Cup. Of course, the final, as you rightly pointed out, is with the steamrolling PSG. I think I saw somewhere. I think the last 3 or 4 games against top clubs that they've played, they've scored 15 goals and conceded zero.
Wow.
right? Of course, the Champions League final, I think they won 5
5
nil or
nil.
some ridiculous number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Against Inter Milan, they beat Real Madrid 4 nil. And then I think previous to that, they beat Atletico Madrid like 4 nil or something as well. So they are an incredible team, as everybody's seen in the Champions League final. They have young technical players who are extremely hardworking. Adim, you must have seen those memes and those videos of Osman Dembele getting ready to press. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he's got his eyes on the goalkeeper like a sprinter, like a panther about to jump on his prey. It seems funny, but you can see how completely engaged he is in pressing, and so is the entire team. And I was watching some of the highlights of their game against Real Madrid, and it was really funny. It almost seemed the lack of intensity from Real Madrid made it seem like they were 4 nil up and not PSG, right? So, having the likes of Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., whose out of possession, contributions are very low, is just not going to cut it anymore, right? Which is kind of interesting. I don't know what did you have any thoughts about the Real Madrid PSG game? Do you think, next year Real Madrid is going to look to sell Mbappe even if like he doesn't up his defensive contributions? Because I don't think you can have like two or three people not defending.
Yeah, so I was quite surprised with Xavi Alonso moving to Real Madrid because he knew what he's getting into. This is not the Bayer Leverkusen side that he built where everybody was working. I think only maybe Florian Wirtz was the one player who didn't defend as much. But even I think he pressed when it was time to press. The tactics that Real Madrid had, they had I think Raul Asensio as a centre back, which is never going to work. Uh, and they just looked completely out of sorts. I don't know what was going on. It was like it felt like those guys were at the end of the season. It's a friendly. They don't care about it. Antonio Rudiger is making mistakes. Obviously, Asensio was at fault for the first goal. And then when it comes to the attack, I saw the highlights also. There was nothing that Mbappe did apart from maybe one shot that he scooped high and wide or something. So I really do fear a bit for Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid because Madrid are never a club that is going to give you time to settle in. And I don't know who's going to buy Mbappe is my big question. Like, and more importantly, it must really
Saudi?
hurt Saudi. But will he go there? Will he become a Cristiano Ronaldo number two? I don't know. And the other thing is, how much must it hurt Mbappe seeing his PSG side, his boyhood club, doing what they're doing now without him? Like they wanted to win the Champions League, they bought Mbappe with so much money, they paired him with Messi and Neymar, and they couldn't do anything. And now, without them, this is a young, hungry team. Luis Enrique's got them fighting on all cylinders. Usman Dembele looks like one of the greatest players in the world. He struggled at Barcelona. He was
Yes.
injured at Barcelona. He had problems at Dortmund. And look at him now. He just needed to go back home. It's insane. This episode should be about boyhood clubs and all, and how it's working out for some of them. So I do fear a bit for Madrid next season because there are players who are aging. Things don't look 100% right in their attack. There are talks of either Vinicius or Rodrigo being sold also. So
Rodrigo for sure, right? That's a good point
yeah,
because he hasn't started any of the 5 games. So he's definitely going to get sold. I don't know who will buy him because his wage
mm,
demands are going to be insanely high now, right?
insane, insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and then moving on into obviously the segment that we need to discuss is how can Chelsea possibly stop this counter-attacking, unbeatable PSG? I saw some of the goals. The movement is just so fluid. It's like liquid football. You play on the PlayStation, right? It's just pass, 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 pass. Achraf Hakimi is seems to be like the greatest right back in the world right now, right wing back maybe.
He
I don't
is.
know.
He is. I mean, both their wing back, both their
Yeah,
wing fullbacks, right? Hakimi on one side and
yeah.
João Pedro on the other side, right?
Yeah.
It's a amazing combination. It kind of was reminding me a little bit of like the Liverpool team, right? With those two,
Trent and
wingers who are,
Robbo.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's obviously different players, but both of these PSG fullbacks are so technical as well as such physical specimens, right? How do you stop these guys? I really don't know. And then in midfield, of course, they have Vitinha. He's like a energizer bunny, right? And then Joao Neves is there, and of course Fabian Ruiz. He's
Robin
been
Ruiz.
really, really good, right? I don't know, I don't know. And of course, up front you have Cavaradona, Kalicha
Yeah.
Kvaratskhelia, right? And Dembele, and then Desiree Doué, Barcola. I mean, Chelsea obviously are firm underdogs. I think one of the journalists just openly asked Levi Colwell during a conference, you guys are everybody's expecting you to lose, right? So what is your mindset? And Cole smirked and said, "Yeah, so if everybody's expecting us to lose, we have nothing to lose."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't expect Chelsea to win or anything, but I'd rather not have like a 4-0 thrashing. I'd be happy if Chelsea keep it competitive. So, what is going to be interesting right now is to see Maresca's, big game tactics and plans and management, right? He's supposed to be like the big tactician, and he's introduced a lot of interesting things in his time at Chelsea. This is going to be a good test of what does he do when the opposition team is clearly so much better. Does he have some tricks up his sleeve? We'll see. Because, some of the legendary managers of the past that Chelsea have had, like Jose Mourinho and all of these guys, they were famous for, having these tactical kind
Yeah.
of trump cards to play, right? So we'll see whether Maresca tries to do something different. But one thing I can tell you for sure, man, against this PSG press with like this panther of a Ousmane Dembele hunting you down, if you give the ball to the feet of Robert Sanchez, we are going to be 5-0 down. We're going to be 5-0 down within the first 15 minutes. So they have to hoof it long or play some other goalkeeper if you want to pass it out from the back.
Yeah, but I don't think you'll mind a loss that much because this was just a friendly tournament. You guys have reached the final. You made quite a bit of money. You recouped a lot of the fees that you paid in the summer already. But yeah, even if PSG beat you, I say 4-0, 5-0, I don't think it's that bad because they are the best team right now, and Maresca still learning, still finding the right people for his system, still understanding what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. So, I mean, if Real Madrid can be beaten 4-0, if Inter Milan can be beaten 5-0, any club can be beaten. So
Agreed.
that's one thing. But yeah, we'll be seeing how that goes. It'll be interesting to see who becomes the first champions of the new format Club World Cup. Uh, all signs point towards PSG. But do let us know your thoughts. Do you think Chelsea have any chance of getting this? Or what do you think about PSG? What do you think about Noni Madueke joining Arsenal and there being riots almost in North London? And then obviously what happens to Nicolas Jackson? Drop your thoughts in the comments. As usual, like, share, and subscribe to our content. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.